Alright, so I would like to replace the backup camera on my truck. I have a 2018 Ram 3500 dually, and the backup camera on it was scratched when I bought it. So real quick, let me just pull this sucker out of the packaging. Well, I don't really care to uncover the lens lest it be scratched as well, but I need to check it's not messed up. So looks pretty clean to me. Just cover that back up. And we're going to set it over here out of the way. Now this is supposed to be an OEM part. Never bought anything from carparts.com, but that's where I got it. Not sponsored or anything. No idea if they're any good. I guess we're going to find out. So what I have here is a T30 Torx bit, and it seems to match up pretty nicely with the bolts that are in this panel on the tailgate. Should be able to just take this panel off to get to where the camera is plugged in at and remove it. I don't know if I'm going to need any additional tools. I expect I'll need something to disconnect it, but I reckon we'll find out in a minute whenever I get the panel off, and then we'll go from there. Didn't need an extension per se, but it makes this a little bit quicker. Looks like this cover here came off at some point and they just reapplied it with something else. Looks like it was broken here, but nowhere else. They just, looks like there might have been plastic screws at some point in that, or maybe it was those push screws or something. Either way, apparently the previous owner didn't much care for that, and they've got themselves what looks like some self-tapping and put those in there instead. Some minor damage here. I might should paint that. Looks like they definitely painted this tailgate, which I can appreciate. For those of y'all that saw the video of me replacing the, or not replacing, but removing and reinstalling the window on my excavator, they did not use paint or primer or anything like that. So even if it does gussy it up a little bit and make it more appealing for purchase, it also means that it's not being exposed to the weather, so it'll continue to rust, except right here, I guess they didn't feel like getting that. Anyway, let's move all these real quick. I'll lift up the tailgate, just kind of point something out. So here, that's where your camera's going to be, right there next to your tailgate handle. So that's what we need to get to, and we'll just grab the tripod here and walk you over there. Kind of look down in there as best we can. So here, that is the backup camera, and let's see if we can look in there. Looks like a Torx bit, T15 maybe, holding that in. And ow, dropped the battery on my toe. That's not nice. So yeah, it looks like a T15 maybe, and we'll get a better look at that in a second. Let me, the battery I use is on a little hook on the bottom of this tripod, and when I leaned the tripod over, it came off and landed on my toe. Didn't much care for that, but it is what it is. We'll just go ahead and move you back over here. I don't know that I can give you a good view of that, so give me a moment. I'm gonna go grab a Alright, so I grabbed a T15 and a T10 just in case. This is not well known for letting go, but apparently it was fine with that. Let's see, which one do we got here? That's the 10? I mean, I don't know, it could be the 10. Let's see if we can't get my freaking hand in here. Oh, actually, this is going to be a little smaller than 10? Question mark? No, the 10's rotating freely. Let's go with the 15. Okay, 15 fits. Now, that is a jacked up angle. I can't really get the camera in there with me, so you're just going to have to take my word for it. There's no access panel on the top, so I can't just remove the black cover and come in from that direction. I don't get much turn out of this. Alright, so that's the little bugger right there. And, yeah, she fits. Little short stubby sucker, kind of crammed in there. If you got big hands, it might be a little difficult to get done. Maybe get your kid a step stool. Get them to help you out. Let's see. Is it in anywhere else? Oh goodness, of course it is. So there's, let's see if we can show you. One here and one here. So it is oriented in this direction. So the one we just got was this one, and then now we got to get this one. So let's go ahead and get to that one somehow. Let's see if we can undo the connector. See how this connector is on there. Maybe a small flathead. Alright, I don't know that I can get this in there the way I would like to. You really want something smaller, I'd think, or something like to get in on this side, but all the mechanical stuff for the tailgate latch is kind of in the way. Kinda. Let's see. Oh goodness. So I walked out here with the camera, and my wife was like, you know, this seems like a great time to let the dog out. And then she did. So now Dee Dee is outside barking at stuff. Give me a second. Go inside. Okay. So what I'm trying to get to here is that little notch that you may or may not be able to see. There's a piece of plastic that goes over it and snips behind it, but the connector goes all the way over. So I need to try to lift that up enough to get that out of there. And without breaking the connector is the key part here. Okay, there we go. All right, so looks like this. That bit, so it's a little bit shielded from lifting on it and stuff. It's got a little gasket on it to keep it from getting wet, I'm sure. And that is connected to what looks like the electric actuator for the tailgate lock, because this has a tailgate lock on it. Like if you had a tonneau cover or something, you could lock the tailgate. I don't, so tailgate lock is unnecessary. I think people are already blowing up fireworks for New Year's. Let's see if we can get that other Torx one out of there. It seems I picked a fine time to decide to do this. Dogs barking, fireworks exploding, chainsaws or leaf blowers or something going off next door. But these are real world conditions. I live in the middle of nowhere, but there's people all around me. Even still. Alright, so we got that one. So I don't know if this is going to come up on camera, but the lens on my old one is scratched here. And let's see. These are not exactly the same, but they are at the same time. But maybe you can see the difference between the lenses. The camera still works, but the lens being scratched makes it really hard to see what's behind you, which kind of defeats the purpose of a backup camera. Now, I don't really like to rely on backup cameras, but it's useful in case a small child or something just happens to walk behind your truck, a dog, something like that. And the reason is because the truck sits so high, it's unlikely you're going to see them behind you. And if you start backing up, I would rather have the safety of the backup camera than not have the safety of the backup camera. I think it is a good safety feature. Let's see, flip you that way. Kind of press you in there. Okay, so now it's sitting where it belongs. I just need to lash it down a little bit. Might be easier said than done. We're going to give it a go. I have relatively small hands, and this is a pretty tight spot to be in. And this bit is not magnetic, which is going to make this a little more difficult, I think. Because you can't see what the hell you're doing. Shit. Maybe I should do the top one first so I can at least see what's going on. I mean, ideally I'd have one of them jointed suckers, but I don't. So, working with what I got, which is probably what most of y'all are gonna do. I can't recommend making this easier by getting a jointed knuckle so that you don't have to cram your hands all the way in this sucker to turn it. And this is going to take a minute. Alright, that's about as tight as I want to get it before I try to put this other one in. More explosions. This one's got a little more room for the ratchet, so it goes a little quicker, I believe. Alright, that one's snugged up. Let's get this one now. Alright, so T15, T30, something flat, kind of jam in there. Now we got the camera replaced. We are going to go ahead and plug this bad boy in. Alright, we heard the snap. Let's move our stuff inside. We're not going to put the cover on yet, just in case there's an issue. It looks cleaner. So let's go sit in the truck here real quick. Okay. Let's see what we got here. I wanted the camera, but it detected my phone plugged in, so it switched. Alright, so this is what I would expect from this truck as far as the camera goes. Before, like the sun hitting it, it had a glare across the whole screen from those scratches. So I guess carparts.com is not so bad, at least in this particular case. I mean, one out of how many sales, right? So seems to work out for me in this particular situation. I can actually see behind me, which is a whole lot better than before. So I think we can go ahead and close that up. All right, so let's check and make sure y'all can see what I'm doing. Obviously, if you're mechanically inclined, it won't matter, because you already know all we're doing is taking this panel and we're putting it back. Now, we do need to make sure that the holes line up, right? So, put that down there. Check your holes, make sure they line up. These two on the end will always line up. You flip it over, well, now it's not going to line up. So, yeah, we got all our holes. All right, so now we can go ahead and put this back in. It has a plastic washer on these, and I'm gonna keep those on there. We're going to trade this back out for the T30. All right, let's get our extension on it, just so it's easier. On us to put in. All right, I'm pretty sure I'm going to torque these to spec after they're all in, and by that I'm going to give it one good ugga-dugga and try not to strip the threads and just call that good. I can't imagine the tailgate's made out of some magical material that makes it not strip threads. It's a pretty straightforward, simple repair, and if you don't know, you don't know. And I've done one of these before. I did it on my Toyota Tundra, and it was pretty easy. So I was like, you know, I think I'll do a video on it. I didn't know all the details of what tools I needed specifically for this truck, but it's always a pretty short list. Going in, I think this one might have a small strip problem. I'm sure before this got dented, it sat on here nice and flat, and that's not the case anymore. So why did I get a camera from carparts.com instead of just calling the dealer and getting a brand new OEM spec camera? And anybody that's ever bought anything from the dealership already knows the answer to that question. And it's because that shit was expensive. I think I paid like 70 something dollars for this camera, whereas like the one for my Toyota, the dealership wanted $800. I didn't even bother to look up how much the one from Dodge cost, because they want to charge me like $180 for a damn key to the truck. Keys are expensive. But yeah, so again, we're not getting all the sunlight we were getting earlier, but this scratched up lens was my issue. The camera itself functions, and if somebody was to be so inclined to clean that up, then they would have a nice camera, and I will hold on to it as a backup. Anyway, thanks for coming and hanging out with me for a second, because that was a really short video.